It starts the same way every time. The country is tired. Prices feel unfair. The rich look insulated. The poor look trapped. The system feels rigged. And then someone offers a promise that lands like a relief. We can make this simpler. We can make it fair. We can plan it. We can take the excess from the top and guarantee the basics for everyone. No one left behind. No one forgotten. It sounds humane. It sounds rational. It sounds like the grown-up version of politics. And then, a few years later, the shelves start thinning. The waiting lines start growing. The shortcuts start multiplying. The economy starts producing the wrong things in the wrong quantities, at the wrong quality, and nobody can quite explain why, except with the usual greatest hits. Sabotage, sanctions, bad luck, corruption, not real socialism. But here's the uncomfortable part. Those explanations are often secondary. The deeper cause is structural, because socialist economies do not just change who owns the factories. They change how information travels, how incentives work, and how decisions get made. And once you change those three things, you don't need a villain for the system to break. The system breaks itself. Not overnight, not always dramatically. Sometimes it limps for decades. But the direction is remarkably consistent. And you can understand why without hating anyone, without worshiping anyone, and without pretending capitalism is a moral utopia. You only need to look at the mechanics. Here is the core idea. A modern economy is not one big machine. It is millions of small problems being solved at the same time. What should be produced? How much? Where? With what materials? Using which methods? For which customers? At what quality? With what trade-offs? And the hard truth is that no committee, no matter how intelligent or well-intentioned, can solve those millions of problems faster than a system that lets information and incentives do the work. So, if you want to understand why socialist economies keep colliding with reality, we're going to walk through it in 5 steps. 1. Why the promise is so compelling. 2. Why central planning loses the information war. 3. Why incentives quietly collapse. 4. What the case studies actually show. 5. What the real lesson is for modern economies that think they are immune. Let's start with the appeal. Because socialism does not recruit people by being stupid. It recruits people by pointing at real pain. In a market economy, you can find genuine injustice on any street. Some people inherit millions. Some people work full-time and still feel one rent increase away from panic. Healthcare can feel like a roulette wheel. Housing can feel like a locked door. So, the moral logic of socialism is simple. If society is producing abundance, why do so many people feel scarce? If work creates value, why does value concentrate? If we have technology, why do basic needs still feel insecure? It is not crazy to want better answers. The problem is not the goal. The problem is the method. Because socialism tries to solve moral problems with an administrative tool. It tries to replace decentralized decision-making with centralized allocation. And that triggers the first failure mechanism, the information problem. In a market, prices do something that looks boring but is close to miraculous. They compress vast amounts of dispersed information into a usable signal. When a price rises, it usually means demand is higher than supply at the current level. Producers see that signal and expand. Substitutes emerge. New suppliers enter. Consumers adjust. The system flexes without asking permission. When a price falls, it usually means supply is exceeding demand. Producers cut back. Resources shift elsewhere. The system flexes again. Nobody needs to know everything. People only need to respond to the signals they face locally. Now, imagine removing those signals. In a fully planned economy, the state owns the factories, the farms, the mines, the distribution, and often the retail. It sets production targets, allocates inputs, assigns wages, and frequently controls prices. But controlled prices are not real prices. They are political numbers. And political numbers don't carry the same information because they are not discovered through millions of voluntary trades. They are declared, which means planners lose their feedback loop. They can still collect data, of course, spreadsheets, reports, surveys, audits, but they are trying to measure something too complex to measure directly. Consumer preferences change, technology changes, local conditions change, inputs change, quality changes, and the real knowledge lives inside people's heads. The shop manager knows what customers ask for but cannot find. The mechanic knows which parts fail most. The farmer knows what the soil can handle this season. The engineer knows which design will break in the field. That knowledge is granular, local, constantly updating, and often hard to verbalize. The price system aggregates that knowledge indirectly. Central planning tries to aggregate it directly, which is like trying to run the internet by mailing updates once a week. So what happens when you plan without real prices? You get chronic mismatches, shortages of what people need, surpluses of what nobody wants, and quality problems, because meeting a target is easier than serving a customer. You can see this in the simplest stories. A factory is told to produce a certain number of items. It optimizes for quantity. The items become flimsy. Then the planners switch the target to weight. The factory optimizes for weight. The items become absurdly heavy. The target is met, the need is not. Scale that logic across food, housing, transport, clothing, spare parts, medicine, and construction. The economy becomes a game of hitting metrics, not satisfying humans. That is step 2. Now step 3 is quieter, but it hits harder over time. The incentive problem. Markets are not just information systems. They are motivation systems. When you allow people to earn more by producing more value, you create a reason to improve, to take risks, to innovate, to work harder, to learn skills, to start businesses, to solve problems that nobody assigned them. A planned economy tries to replace that motive force with either moral duty or administrative pressure. Work for the collective. Meet the plan. Do your part. Sometimes it works for a while, especially in emergencies. But long term, the connection between effort and reward weakens. If you do excellent work and your reward is identical to average work, excellence becomes charity. If you innovate and your reward is a pat on the head, innovation becomes a hobby. If you take risks and failure is punished while success is politically claimed, risk-taking becomes irrational. So the economy drifts toward the safest strategy, compliance. Not because the people are lazy, because they are responding rationally to the rules. And once incentives flatten, the system starts bleeding talent. The ambitious leave if they can. If they cannot, they withdraw into the informal economy. They barter, trade favors, hide output, or build parallel markets. The state responds by tightening control. More inspections, more penalties, more surveillance. And that brings us to the political problem. A planned economy concentrates economic power, and concentrated power attracts corruption the way sugar attracts ants. If the state controls access to jobs, housing, permits, imports, and scarce goods, then loyalty becomes a currency. Connections become a market. Officials become gatekeepers. Even with honest leaders at the top, The system creates opportunities for rent-seeking at every level. And because there is no competitive pressure, bad decisions can persist. In a market, a business that makes the wrong product goes bankrupt. In a planned system, a ministry that makes the wrong product writes a report. That is the core architecture. Information becomes weaker. Incentives become weaker. Errors become sticky. Now, let's test the theory against reality. First, the Soviet Union. It was the largest sustained attempt at comprehensive planning. It mobilized enormous resources. It built heavy industry. It achieved real feats in science and military technology. It expanded education. But daily life revealed the cracks. Production focused on what the plan rewarded, not what consumers valued. Shortages were normal. Queuing was normal. Quality was inconsistent. Innovation was slow outside strategic state priorities, and the longer it ran, the more it stagnated. Because once you've built the first layer of industrial capacity, the next stage of growth depends on flexibility, services, design, consumer responsiveness, rapid innovation, entrepreneurship, continuous improvement. Those are exactly the areas where centralized allocation struggles most. By the late period, the system was exhausted. It did not fall primarily because someone invaded it. It fell because it could not generate enough value fast enough to meet its own promises. Second, Venezuela. Venezuela is useful because it shows how fast things can go wrong when price controls and nationalization collide with reality, especially in a country that relies heavily on one export. High oil revenue can mask structural problems. It can fund subsidies and imports and make the system look stable. But if domestic production becomes unprofitable because prices are controlled below costs, businesses shrink or close. If property rights feel insecure, investment dries up. If imports replace local output, the non-oil economy hollows out. Then, when the oil cycle turns, the mask comes off. Inflation accelerates. Shortages spread. The currency breaks. Skilled workers leave. The state prints more. The market moves underground. The outcome is not just lower GDP, it is institutional collapse. Third, Cuba. Cuba shows another path. Not the dramatic crash, the slow freeze. When planning is maintained through tight control, the economy can persist in a low-output equilibrium for a long time. But persistence is not success. It is stagnation. Human capital becomes trapped. Great education produces graduates with nowhere to apply it. High social cohesion exists alongside low material capacity. Scarcity becomes a lifestyle, and the informal economy becomes the real economy. Now, the most revealing case is the one people bring up to defend socialism: China. Because China's growth story is real, and it is also, unintentionally, the strongest argument against strict central planning. China's economic acceleration begins when it introduces market mechanisms. More private enterprise, more profit retention, more competition, more price signals, more openness to foreign capital and technology. The state remains powerful, but the economy grows when it allows decentralized incentives and information to do their job. In other words, the confession is that pure planning was not delivering. Hybridization did. Finally, the cleanest natural comparison: North and South Korea. Same peninsula, same cultural roots, same starting devastation after war. Different systems. The South adopts markets, trade, and private enterprise and becomes an industrial powerhouse. The North adopts extreme central control and becomes isolated, scarce, and heavily militarized. The contrast is visible from space at night. That is not propaganda. That is electricity. Now, here's where this topic often gets poisoned. People hear a critique of socialist planning and think it means you must defend everything that happens under capitalism. No. A market economy can be brutal, corrupt, and unfair. It can also be redesigned. There's a difference between socialism as full central ownership and planning and mixed economies with welfare states, public health care, regulation, and safety nets. Norway is not the Soviet Union. Denmark is not North Korea. Those are market economies with high redistribution, not economies that abolish price signals and private enterprise. The uncomfortable truth is not that helping people fails. The uncomfortable truth is that planning an entire economy fails because it breaks the information system and the incentive system at the same time. And when governments try to override prices with politics, they inherit the complexity they replaced. They become responsible for everything. And when you are responsible for everything, every error becomes systemic. So what is the real lesson? It is not that markets are perfect. It is that prices and incentives are not optional features of an economy. They are the operating system. You can regulate markets, you can tax, you can redistribute, you can build public institutions. But when you attempt to abolish decentralized pricing and replace it with centralized allocation, you remove the feedback loop that tells you what is working. Then you are steering in fog with 1,000 levers while the road changes under your tires. And yes, modern technology can process more data than planners in the 1960s could imagine. But data is not knowledge, and prediction is not preference. A supercomputer can calculate optimal steel output. It cannot know what millions of consumers will want next month, in what style, at what quality, with what trade-offs, in what neighborhoods, at what time. The market doesn't know that either. It discovers it continuously through signals. That discovery process is the thing central planning keeps trying to replace, and it keeps failing. Because the economy is not a math problem. It is a living negotiation. So if you want a one-sentence answer to the title, socialist economies eventually fail when they try to run the entire system from the center because the center cannot see enough, cannot react fast enough, and cannot motivate enough people to continuously improve without allowing them to benefit from improvement. The tragedy is that the promise is often sincere. The outcomes are often catastrophic, and the gap between the two is paid by ordinary people, not by the planners. If you want more episodes like this, where we strip ideology away and look at the mechanics underneath, subscribe to The Paper Fortress. Because the world is run by systems, and the fastest way to lose your future is to believe your intentions can override how systems behave.